All right, guys, welcome back to the greatest game show on this side of the internet where you get to defend takes you may or may not believe. Today, guys, we have DuFour and Jay King. And in honor of Jay King, we are doing Defend the Take Sacramento Kings edition. The way this works, as always, is there are three takes. One guy will defend the pro side, one guy will defend the con side, and you will have 60 seconds to present your take uninterrupted and then you'll switch off, and then it'll be an open conversation trying to decide who has the better take. Today, guys, the three takes are number one, the Sacramento Kings should buy at the trade deadline. Number two, I would prefer to start a team today with Tyrese Haliburton over the De'Aaron Fox. And number three, the Sacramento Kings will win a title before both the Lakers and the Warriors. To decide who gets the pro and the con side today, as always, we have a trivia question. And today's trivia question is, how many kings have there been in the history of England? And the answer to that question is I don't know because I couldn't find it easily on the internet. And so we have a different trivia question. The trivia question is, how many monarchs have England and Britain had in their history, which includes queens as well, I think. But this is according to historicuk.com, and so I have no idea if this is actually correct. Jay, you get the first guess. How many
I could be
monarchs?
so wrong on this. I have literally no idea how far off I'm gonna be here.
Okay, well, just
I'm
just
gonna
for
go
frame
with
of reference, in your lifetime, they've only had two.
I'm gonna go with 18.
18. Okay, Dave, what are you taking?
40?
Neither one of you guys are that close. It is
Way low.
63.
Ah,
63.
okay, yeah.
Dave, do you
You're
want
a
the
nice
pro or the
guy
con
then.
side today?
The pro side.
Well, first take again, guys, is the Sacramento Kings should buy at the trade deadline. Dave, you are the pro side, so you get to go first, and your 60 seconds starts now.
The Sacramento Kings should absolutely buy at the trade deadline. It's a wide open race, in my opinion, for the title. The favorites right now in the West are it's the Nuggets and the Clippers to me. There's no perfect team, though. And I think if you're the Sacramento Kings, you're on the cusp of being one of the top four teams in the West. And if you could make a change here and there, pick up one guy, this is the time to do it. All your guys are coming into their prime. You might be able to catch the Nuggets sleeping or maybe the Clippers. Maybe you get some injury luck, but it seems like a great opportunity to push some chips on the table as the Lakers are falling off, as the Warriors are falling off. It's just now is the time to give it a shot. There are guys out there that fit their system and they can improve their defense, which is the thing that's really holding them back. They've got a number one guy in De'Aaron Fox. Time to make a push and see if you can't win a playoff series or two. And I think that, yeah, it'd be a great time to buy at the deadline. Not a lot of buyers.
Time. All right, Jay, your 60 seconds begins now.
Not a lot of buyers. Why would there not be buyers? There are tons of teams who should feel they have a shot this year. It's a wide open race. Both teams from both conferences should be lining up to try to get help. And really, there's not a lot of star power likely to be moved at the deadline. The Kings need to sit this one out. They're not close to being close. They're not close to being close. That's a Fran Fraschilla type saying there. They are not close to being close to Denver, to LA, to any of the teams at the top of the Western Conference. Right now, net rating suggests that they're just an average team. They have an average offense, they have an average defense, and that's with De'Aaron Fox being amazing so far, having by far the best three-point shooting percentage of his career. They're probably due for some regression, and this is not the team to add to. This is not the team to go all in for. I think they need to be patient. They need to take the long-term approach.
Time. We can start with this question. This is for you, Jay. Do you think they should sell then, or should they just do nothing?
They should actually buy, but I had the wrong side of this, so
Well, here's why. Hey, there's not a lot of buyers, Jay, because a lot of teams have already
I can't lie. It's
Hey,
hard to lie.
made
there
their
are two
purchases.
rules to this game: is that you have to defend the take, and you are not allowed to speak in the other person's 60 seconds. There's
But
only
then
two rules.
you came with a follow-up question. I defended the take, but then you asked me, should they sell? No, they should not sell.
You're supposed to sell, Jay.
I sold
All right,
on
listen.
them.
But the reason here's why, like for real, by the trade deadline though, like there's not a lot of buyers because The teams that like needed to make big purchases already spent that money. Boston's not going to be in the mix for anything too big. The Bucks don't have any assets. Denver, they're kind of maxed out as far as what they can do salary wise. I mean, maybe they can do some marginal stuff. The Clippers, they've already got James Harden, who they're going to re-sign in the summer. Like all these other teams are committed. The Knicks, they're not making a trade unless it's Joel Embiid. I think this is an opportunity for a team like the Kings to look on the margins. They might be able to pick up some guys. I mean, if the Warriors decide they're done with Andrew Wiggins, is Andrew Wiggins a guy that maybe they could get? I just think that there are pieces that they could go and acquire that other teams can't. Part of that they've got their assets, but also they're just below that sort of second tier of contenders, right? Like the teams like we're talking about Minnesota right now, we're talking about Oklahoma City. They could be in that mix with a change or two. You said they're average at best at both things. Net rating, they're about league average. Yeah, perfect opportunity to improve because they have a guy who I think is a top 12 guy in De'Aaron Fox, who, we're talking future MVP candidate. De'Aaron Fox. And this is the time to push in, get those bigger playoff reps, try to make it to the second round of the playoffs. That would be huge for this franchise. So it's not just about can they win a title. I'm not a rings or bust guy, but winning, like the next step for them is winning a playoff series. And I think you've got to try to make a change or two, get a guy or two this year and see if you can do it because no other team out there is as poised to be able to improve at the deadline in the West as they are.
They already missed out on the two targets that should have been at the top of their list, OG Anunoby and Pascal Siakam. Those would have been perfect fits with the size to defend, with the skill to help their offense, with just the ability to defend guys at a level that they haven't touched over the last couple of years since Mike Brown took over. They needed those guys. The other guys don't move me. Jeremy Grant, sorry, like he's not pushing them to the next level. Bogdan Bogdanovic, not pushing them to the next level. Kyle Kuzma, sorry, not good enough. Like, to me, they should have pushed all their chips in to try to get one of those guys. They weren't able to do that. They saw each of them go to different places. And now it's time to take a step back, go a little slower, and make sure you don't screw anything up around De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis, who have been great since pairing up at the trade deadline a couple years ago.
Dave, who is like the perfect fit for them that you would like to see them trade for?
I mean, I think Jay's right that Pascal Siakam or OG Anunoby would be perfect, but it's a wing league, right? So those are two of the best guys that have moved lately. I think Dorian Finney-Smith would be great. If you really wanted to make a big trade, Mikal Bridges would be excellent out there next to De'Aaron Fox and playing with Domantas Sabonis. And, teams are calling about him. I know all the news is out today. Like the Rockets really are interested in Mikal Bridges. A lot of teams should. Any of those sort of type guys, obviously Mikal Bridges being the highest end piece that you could get like that. But Dorian Finney-Smith, I mean, they should just be making trades with the Brooklyn Nets is what it feels like. Because I'm about to say Cam Johnson would be great out there playing with those guys. So, there is an archetype that I think they need. And they certainly could use a very good big man. They just don't grow on trees. So I think that Dorian Finney-Smith of the guys available makes them better like right now and is a marginal enough move that it doesn't preclude you from doing something else this summer and in the future. It doesn't tie you up too long, and he would make them better for this current run.
Going back to Mikal Bridges real quick, if they were to trade for him and let's say they deplete their roster for it and you're stuck with him, Fox, and Sabonis, does that make them significantly better?
Oh, I mean, I think it makes them better. You're just not going to be as deep. Like it depends on what you give up for any of these guys. I mean, Dorian Finney-Smith is the most affordable option, I'm guessing, of the guys I've said. Mikal Bridges is going to cost you some assets. Now, I don't think Mikal Bridges is the number one guy. And so if he gets number one assets, that's a huge mistake. I mean, it's all about what they give up. It's not just go buy and pay later. They need to have these need to be good moves that they make. If they can't make any good moves, then definitely don't make any moves, right? But the idea is there are good moves that they can make. They should be trying to make them.
All right, well, yeah, go for it, Jay.
If they do add, it needs to be incrementally because their top two in all honesty, is not good enough to compete for a championship.
I agree with that.
And that's why, to me, they should sit this one out and add pieces around those guys later. Keep your flexibility. Make sure that you're able to capitalize when you are able to upgrade the top end talent at the top of your roster.
Why are we talking championships about a team that hasn't won a playoff series? I don't. When was the last time they won? Again, it is about an incremental improvement. If they can just get better on the margins and come out of the first round, that's huge for the franchise, huge for the fan base. I mean, it's huge for their players. I think that this is just, and I know, Jay, you're not a rings or bust guy, which I actually love about you. Like you appreciate just being good for goodness sake. This is a chance for the Kings to be better than good for the sake of just being better than good, especially come playoff time.
But this team is already good. They were the number 3 seed in the East in the Western Conference last year,
and weren't good enough to get out of the first round.
Correct. But to me, I'm not making a move just to get out of the first round. I'm making a move with the long term in mind. And it doesn't have to be championship or bust. But to me, you've got one of the best young guards in basketball in De'Aaron Fox. You need to be smart about getting the pieces around him to thrive. And you do need the right pieces around him. He's gotten a lot better as a defender, but you need long guys, you need skill guys, and they just need higher level wings eventually. Those guys just aren't out there right now.
No, but I agree with you that you do need to make a big, if you can do it, but you need to be making moves to get better in the short term and the long term. It's a good deadline for that.
Dave, I am a rings or bust guy, and you just described loser mentality, and so that's a -1. But you did defend your take, and so you get +1 for that. Jay, you're getting -5 for not defending your take.
-5. Wow.
Yeah, we got to be stronger on this. You cannot. You have to be able to defend your take. One rule. There's 2 rules. There's literally 2 rules.
Now, how does an Orlando Magic fan
that
become a rings or bust guy?
We don't need to talk about that. Take number 2. I would prefer to start a team today with Tyrese Haliburton over De'Aaron Fox. Dave, 60 seconds is on the clock.
Well, this one is unfortunately a little bit of a no-brainer. As much as I appreciate De'Aaron Fox, and I do think he's a guy who, as long as the Kings continue to improve, will be in MVP conversations, especially with his clutch play. I think that when you look at what Tyrese Haliburton was doing this year already, he is an MVP candidate currently. He's just slightly ahead of De'Aaron Fox, a little bit younger. I just think he's a guy that you can more easily build around because he makes the players that he plays with so much better. De'Aaron Fox on his own, excellent scorer, gets downhill, does create shots for others, but not in the same way that Tyrese Haliburton does. Haliburton's got an opportunity. He could be a 30-point-a-game night and like a 12-assist-a-night guy. I mean, he's that level of offensive player. You worry about the defensive end with him, and this is where I give De'Aaron Fox so much credit because I do like him so much as a player. But as long as Indiana, I mean, when you look at what they've been doing, they're building a team that's
time. Jay, 60 seconds on the clock.
Fox is just a better scorer. Fox has more to his offensive game. He's a better driver. He's able to get into the paint and finish in a way that Tyrese Haliburton just isn't. Now, Tyrese Haliburton, one of the most gifted passers in the league. He has led, the best offense this season. Fox did the same thing last year in Sacramento. He was the driving force of that. He was the guy pushing the pace. He was the guy finding everybody. That Sacramento team wasn't particularly talented, and Fox led them to the best offensive rating in NBA history. He's added the 3-point shot to his game in a way that has just opened up everything for him, will open up everything for his team. He's shooting like 8 threes a game. He's gotten to the level of Haliburton as a 3-point shooter, and to me, he just has more stuff to his game as a scorer than Haliburton. And I know the EPM and all the on-court metrics suggest that Haliburton has been...
Time. To start this one off,
can I ask Jay a question real quick?
Go for it. Sure.
You mentioned highest ever offensive rating last year. Until this year, and who's leading the #1 offense ever?
TJ McConnell.
You're right. MVP candidate TJ McConnell is
correct. Buddy Hield, TJ McConnell, Aaron Nesmith.
I mean, I hate to use your own point against you, but it does seem like Tyrese Haliburton is the superior offensive player. Scoring is only one part of playing offense, and also Tyrese Haliburton can really score. But the way that he sets up his teammates, creates look for other people, and just the creativity of some of the passes that he throws. I mean, I just think that sets him at a whole nother level as a lead ball handler, lead playmaker to De'Aaron Fox.
To me, he's a two-level scorer. He's an incredible three-point shooter. He can get to the rim. The in-between game is where Fox can really thrive, where he can put you on your heels. We've seen him against Golden State in the playoffs stay at that super high level. And I haven't seen Halliburton do that. Have you seen Halliburton in the playoffs? Nope. Nope.
Well, I will say this
Never
though.
made it there. I also
Tyrese Haliburton though, he did win an in-season tournament.
congrats to him for winning
He made it to
a
the finals of
farcical
the in-season
tournament that
tournament, right?
they
Like
created out of thin air this
he
season.
beat the Boston Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks on the way there. I mean, the two supposed favorites in the East. So, I mean, I just think that we've seen this guy in high pressure situations and he's performed very well. So, you know, making the playoffs, it's a team sport. You know, one guy, this young guy, hasn't had a chance to really do that yet, but they're going to make the playoffs this year. So we're going to see it this year. I think Pascal Siakam, again, perfect running mate for Tyrese Haliburton. We're about to see his game expand even further. And this guy was already an MVP candidate this year. So
he's putting up fake stats in a system that is designed to just run and gun. The Pacers play a different style than anyone else in the league this year. They are flying up and down the court. Their stats are totally fake. And
this
yes,
sounds like what the Kings haters were saying about the Kings last year. Sounds very similar to what they were saying.
It's a new year, and I can only go on what this year is telling me, and that's telling me that Halliburton stats are fake. The Pacers play a gimmicky system that won't hold up in the playoffs. Fox will. He's going to be the one who, when the game slows down, he's going to be able to get you a bucket. He's going to be able to get you into what you need. He's a fourth quarter monster, has been for a long time. And to me, that's what I want out of my point guard.
Would the Kings be better if they kept Tyrese instead of getting Sabonis? And if so, how much better?
That never would have worked. I would have loved for it to work, but and if we go back to the rings or bust thing, they could have been awesome. They could have scored a ton of points. They could have been super run and gun. They should have been one of the most fun teams to watch with that backcourt. But when you have two guys that are not just small, but also kind of thin, frailer guys for NBA relative to the rest of the NBA, I just don't think you would have been able to cobble together enough defensive firepower around those guys. I would have loved to see him try it, but that duo long term, each of those guys flourished as soon as they got away from each other, and I don't think that's at all a coincidence.
I just want to point out, you know, you brought up Haliburton and haven't seen him in the playoffs. And we did see De'Aaron Fox, but
now would I have traded him for Sabonis? I don't know.
Well, yeah, there you go. Now I pulled up the stats here from last year's playoffs, and while he did score 42% from the field, 33% from three. This is a high volume.
And what did Haliburton do
for De'Aaron Fox?
What did Haliburton do? He's also a much better three-point shooter now than he was last year. That 33% was right around what he was for the regular season. Now he's added the three ball to his game, and that's going to open up everything else for him too. And you have to respect him now. He's not just shooting 38.6% from three. He's doing it on high volume, about 8 threes per game. This is teams used to beg him to shoot to try to take away his drive. Now you have to be up on him. And that's a huge difference now between Fox. He's really improved a ton as a shooter, one of the most improved shooters in the league.
Just so we get a little bit more clarity on each of your answers to this. Are the Kings better suited, or do they have a better chance at winning a ring with Sabonis or with Haliburton on that team?
I mean, Haliburton. I just think when you have talent, like having more talent is the thing that matters the most, right? De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Haliburton combined talent is better than Haliburton and Sabonis or Fox and Sabonis because both of those guys are better players than Domantas Sabonis. I would rather have those two guys and any other combination of three guys to fill out the rest of the lineup than Sabonis.
Jay, do you agree?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially because to me, where they screwed up there was not splitting up that backcourt, because that backcourt at some point was going to be split. Did they take the wrong guy? No, because no, they did not. They did not trade the wrong guy. Fox is better. He's better to build around. He's more to me. He's just he has more to his game as a scorer, and I think if you can get Haliburton in the half court, if you can be physical with him, if you can take away his airspace, and that's really, really hard to do, you can guard him. I don't think you can take away Fox's airspace because he's one of the fastest, craftiest drivers in the league. And that's the difference to me. But with regard to the Sabonis trade, I would have just pursued somebody else. The league had such a high opinion of Haliburton, and rightfully so, that you didn't have to confine yourself. You didn't have to be so aggressive going after, somebody who's limited. And Sabonis has been great. He's been fantastic. He's transformed the Kings. He's fit really well with Fox offensively. He was one of the reasons that team was number one in offense last year. But to me, I just would have wanted a different type of player than Sabonis with his limitations if I'm going to move such a crown jewel of a trade asset.
Well, Jay, when Dave asked who's leading the number one offense, you named three players that are not named Tyrese Haliburton. And so you get 1 point for each of those. So you get 3 points.
Shout out to TJ McConnell.
Third and final take, guys. We have a score of 0 to -2 right now. So we'll see what happens. Final take. The Sacramento Kings will win a title before both the Los Angeles Lakers and the Golden State Warriors. Dave, you are on the clock.
This was pretty easy for me. I just think that the Kings are an organization on the rise. Obviously, Mike Brown came in there last year, changed their culture. De'Aaron Fox, as Jay just said, is like future MVP candidate, one of the best players. I mean, he's better than Tyrese Haliburton, according to Jay. A guy who is a 3-level scorer that you can trust in crunch time. Seems like a number one guy for building around a championship contender. And the Lakers and Warriors are, frankly, on their way out. LeBron James tweeting out emojis, making people speculate that his time is coming up, on an end there in LA. And we've watched the Warriors just floundering around Steph Curry. I mean, do we need to free Steph Curry just to get him someplace where he can play with joy again? And I think that those two teams sinking while the Kings are going up makes me feel like the Kings have a better shot winning a title here in the next 5 years than either of those teams have. The Lakers have an empty cupboard.
Jay, you can go.
Let's let history guide us on this one. The Kings have never won a championship. The only time the franchise ever won one, they were called the Royals. That was a long, long time ago. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the Lakers are built to win a championship this season. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the Warriors dynasty is going to continue. They're not. But the Lakers always reload. The next free agent superstar signing is always right around the corner. Everyone wants to play for the Lakers. The Warriors have become that too. Once this era is over for them, everyone's going to want to play there. Those teams are clearly way ahead of the Kings in the race to win a title whenever that comes, because the Kings just don't win titles. They stink as a franchise. They're not on the rise. They made it to the first round of the playoffs. Got beat by the Warriors, by the way, even though the Warriors were in a down year. They're not as on the rise as you think.
Time.
Who was the last free agent that the Lakers signed?
LeBron James?
Besides LeBron James. Right. All right. LeBron James. But hang on. Who was the last one besides LeBron James?
Besides LeBron
It isn't
James?
like they just constantly sign everybody. LeBron James signed. He wanted to make movies. Where else was he going to sign?
Besides LeBron James?
What other
Before that,
NBA
it was the
superstars
Kobe
coming
era.
up want to make
Before that, it
movies?
was Shaq. Before that, it's just
They drafted. Well,
it's
they traded for
constant.
Kobe on draft night,
It's
but
constant. It's constant. They always have stars. The stars are always going to want to go there. LeBron uprooted his life to go to the Lakers.
to make movies.
You know why? Because LA is
It's
the place to
LA.
be.
I just
LA.
I don't actually think the Lakers are the premier franchise that they used to be. And how many titles have the Warriors won without Bob Myers in their franchise
the
history?
premier franchise.
Zero.
They don't need to be the premier franchise.
The
They were
folks
in a
running
rut
the Warriors
when
now drafted
LeBron
James Wiseman #2.
when LeBron looked around and decided to go to the Lakers. They had been in a rut. They were misled for years before that. And you know what? LeBron decided to go to the Lakers because it doesn't matter how they're run. It doesn't matter how much they bungle things. People are going to want to play in LA for the Lakers, and they're never going to want to do that in Sacramento. Ever.
I don't know, man. I think Mike Brown has changed the culture there. And I think when you've got a guy like De'Aaron Fox, who is that sort of a leader, I mean, I think guys are going to want to play with him.
You know who wasn't
We
good
haven't
enough to coach
seen
the
it yet because
Lakers?
free
Do you know who
agency's
wasn't
dead.
good enough to coach the Lakers? Mike.
Now, hang on.
That was a joke.
Hang
That
on
was a joke.
I was going to say, all right, listen, man, like
Great coach. I have nothing bad to say
we
about
can't
Mike Brown.
disparage Mike Brown, but also I'll say this: I won't discount that Mike Brown learned how to be a better head coach by going and being an assistant at a very high level, winning rings. The man
Yes,
has
the
won
Warriors
titles.
franchise that you
The
also
Golden
are on the
State
wrong
Warriors.
side of the argument.
And I
Agreed.
will make
Agreed.
the argument that Mike Brown was the secret sauce to their success to win him that last title. Mike Brown is the players coach, but he's also an excellent X's and O's coach. As you mentioned, had the greatest offense in NBA history. Still has it on the books because this season hasn't ended yet. I mean, I just think that you're discounting the leadership of Mike Brown and the appeal of playing for a coach like that. I mean, the guy rides a hog to work. Come on, man. You don't want to play for Mike Brown and play with De'Aaron Fox, future MVP of the league?
I don't want to play in Sacramento. I want to play in LA.
Think about that package, the
None
way
of
they
this
play
stuff matters.
offense.
None of this stuff matters. In the rush for a championship, none of that matters. Nobody's going to Sacramento to play for Mike Brown. Nobody's going to Sacramento to play with Domantas Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox. They are going to LA.
So this is all a Lakers thing.
Lakers.
You're with me that the Warriors title that this is over for them. They're never going to win another. Well, they're not winning another title anytime soon. The Warriors. We agree there. Right?
No, we are not discarding them. The current era
is over.
Probably doesn't have more championships in them, but they will also win one before the Kings because again, the Kings will never win one.
Now, but pre-Steph Curry, if we were having this conversation, would you have said this about the Warriors? Definitely not. One of the worst franchises in
I believe in Mitch Richmond.
I
believe in Chris Mullin.
NBA history. But all it took was one guy coming in and turning it around. And I will only give Steph Curry the credit for this. I mean, the rest of the guys are very good, but Steph Curry transformed that franchise just like De'Aaron Fox is doing.
Comparing De'Aaron Fox to Stephen Curry is the most disrespectful thing to Stephen Curry, who is one of the greatest, most transformative presence.
Look at what he just did.
He's done nothing close to what Stephen Curry did. He just lost to a Stephen Curry team that was one of the worst Stephen Curry teams of the last 12 years. He just got beat.
Now you're blaming
Stephen Curry's Warriors in the first round of the playoffs. And we're going to put him up on that level. That was one of the most insane things.
Actually, you know, when you go and look at that series, you got to think about it. Remember how the Warriors lost to the Spurs in the playoffs during that initial Steph Curry run? Look at it like that. Aging dynasty on its way out. The new up and coming young team. They got to lose to learn the lesson, Jay. You got to learn to lose before you can learn to win.
They've done a lot of learning how to lose in Sacramento,
and now they're learning how to win successfully.
Dave, are you worried? Are you worried at all that no matter how good the Kings could be with this current base, that the rest of the West is just like they have superstars, like
Too good.
true superstars, you know? And
Yeah.
so it's like, are they going to be just stuck in this middle ground, you know, where they're competing, but like they're not ever close to being the favorites?
With the Kings?
Yeah,
No,
the
I
Kings.
think the Kings. Look, man, the Kings again. De'Aaron Fox can drive on anyone. Jay laid it out. 3-level scorer that turns it up in the clutch. Okay, how many guys do that? How many guys? Jay, can you name 3 players that score like De'Aaron Fox does in the clutch? No, they don't exist. So no, I fully believe in this Kings team. I think that when you look at the rest of their roster, I've been very focused on De'Aaron Fox. Haven't even talked about Keegan Murray, Kevin Herter. I mean, they have offensive
Are we
firepower
supposed
that
to
a
pretend like
lot
those
of
guys are
teams
championship caliber players?
would
Championship
struggle to
caliber.
keep up with. I mean, this is the sort of firepower that
This,
Jay
this Kings group
dreams
will
of
never
this.
win a title. This Kings group will never win a title. They are an entire reboot
They have a
away from even considering it.
transformational ownership
And you
situation.
know what's much easier to reboot with? The Lakers franchise. The Warriors now history, which is rich. It's rich. There's nothing in
Warriors really,
Sacramento
there's a
also.
strong
Who would want to
argument to be
live there?
made, Jay.
Sorry,
Vivek
Sacramento.
Ranadive leaving the Warriors really hurt them. When he left their ownership group and went and purchased the Kings, I mean, that was a little bit of brain drain there. And now the Kings are getting full advantage of, look, not everyone will think 4-on-5 basketball is a good idea. But that sort of
Yeah, that's
outside the
right.
box thinking is exactly why I'll never, never count the Kings out in their race for a championship.
That's
Starts at the top.
ludicrous statement. Ludicrous statement.
Okay, I'm gonna give Jay 2 points just because I think he just outclassed Dave in all the arguments. So that makes it a score of 0-0. But
Unbelievable.
I will say this. I know the amount of revere and respect that Dave has for Steph Curry, and to compare him to De'Aaron Fox must have taken a lot of humility, but he successfully defended his take, and so he'll get 5 points for that. Dave
Wait, what?
5-0.
We're giving him points for comparing.
Yes.
I would not have given him the
Curry
points if you
to
successfully
De'Aaron
defended
Fox?
your take in the first take, Jay. But that was absolutely disrespectful.
I was already punished for that. I shouldn't be fucking
No,
punished
the
again
punishments
because
never stop.
this is,
Jay.
oh my God. This is the biggest miscarriage of justice I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think you said the same thing you lost last time, Jay.
It's true. This is
Fuck
the biggest
Zach Harper.
miscarriage of
Fuck
justice
Zach
to Jay
Harper.
since the last time he lost.
Zach Harper's undefeated on this show. That's all I gotta say.
That's all you need to know about
Yeah,
this show and
1-0.
how much of a crock of shit it is. And the
all
scoring
right.
system is misguided and wrong and just unfair.
Well,
That's outrageous. He was just granted the win because he compared Stephen Curry to De'Aaron Fox. I'm considering never showing up on this show again just because that is absolutely ludicrous. It was one of the most outrageous things I've ever heard in my life. And
it might have been the worst thing I've heard on the
reward him
show.
for that.
Oh, don't even look, man.
is
Just
just
compare.
wrong.
Just compare. Steph Curry comes in, right? He's competing with another small guard finally, right? Finally get rid of that guy, put the ball in his hands. You see an ascension. I'm telling you, it's the exact same thing with De'Aaron Fox. I know the game is over, but just think about the role of the franchise. And now what it will take is continued success. Like Steph Curry, if Steph Curry is just a nice story and they compete against the Spurs once and that's it, then Steph Curry isn't Steph Curry. De'Aaron Fox is not Steph Curry yet. I'm not, and he's likely never going to be that guy because Steph Curry is the greatest player to ever touch a basketball. So De'Aaron Fox has got a long way to go to be Steph Curry. But I just feel that one guy can actually be transformational if he's good enough.
But he's not. You've been smoking
And he
too
may
much
not
that
be. I don't
purple
know.
beam.
He may not be. I don't know.
Well,
But I'm open to the idea.
thank you guys for watching. I don't think this will ever end, but thank you guys for watching and let us know in the comments who won and who was more correct. It's never Dave because apparently
It's always Dave.
No, he compares De'Aaron Fox to Steph Curry, which is kind of wild. But yeah.
And gets rewarded for it.